This is Rashawn Slater, first round draft pick for the LA Chargers, and you're listening to the Charged Up Bolts podcast. Bolt up.
G'day, Bolt fam, and welcome to another edition of the Charged Up Bolts podcast. 1-0, baby. We're off to a flyer, as predicted by the four of us and most of the Chargers family across the globe. I'm your host, John Was Jr., recording for the last time from Greater Northwest London. We moved house on Friday, my wife and I, to the east coast of England, a place called Essex. Not as good as Yorkshire, definitely better than Lancashire. But so this is the last recording from London, but it's not the last recording from Texas, is it, Mr. John Ayres over there in Dripping Springs? How's it going, buddy?
Oh, just living the dream out here. Just living the dream. Today was sports jersey day. So I sent the kid off to school today wearing a Keenan Allen jersey. So
yes,
love that.
Hopefully that went well.
Well, that's to be fair, John. Your daughter is wearing the Chargers attire, unlike the man above us and to the side of us, Bermudez, again, that obviously someone's stolen all his Chargers gear. How's it going, Bez?
Well, to be fair, it looks like from here that I missed the memo on wearing the matching gear. What are you doing? Are you twins or something?
I'm trying to cover up the 1-3, so it looks like
Well, apparently, Chargers community said it's okay to wear 33, and I blame Bez because my wife reached out to him before Chris said what jersey my buying was. She said Derwin James, or he did, so Bez is to blame.
Yeah,
you are two Derwin Jameses in one jersey.
Yeah,
much like he's in on the field with the amount of coverage and blitzing he does. There's always two of him.
Well, anyone see my Twitter header? That's a quality header, by the way. Derwin James and that car crash, absolutely fantastic. That's where we're going to start, folks. 1-0. I don't think we give the Raiders enough credit for the game because they've got some good weapons. Waller, Devontae Adams, Max Crosby, Chandler Jones. They generated a lot of heat. The two tackles, the two guards gave up 2 pressures each. We didn't give up a sack. Herbert was able to operate in the pocket. And just my opinion, I don't know if you two agree, I think it's the most complete game of football we've seen the Chargers play since we demolished the Ravens in the 2018 playoffs. John, is that a fair assessment?
Probably. I mean, it could be. I don't know. It's hard to say.
Bez?
Do you know what? I'm going to calm us down and start negative, and then I'm going to build us up, right?
Shocking.
But, we've had some tough years recently. We've started slow in particular, and I was very nervous for this game, and I thought we actually started all right. We went down the field, we scored a field goal, and looked like we had good momentum, and we could move down the field at pace and accurately. I liked it. And then we let the Raiders do exactly the same to us. And there was a period of time at the beginning when I was worried that we weren't showing our true colors. We weren't showing that we were better than the Raiders. We were just matching them. So I worried at that point. And then obviously we sort of accelerated a little bit through the second quarter and into the second half. We got a lead. And then we were too conservative towards the end. So there were real big positives. And I'm going to, hopefully we'll have some time. I'm going to analyze a few of those, give my opinions, get your opinions.
Get on with it. Come on, I want to hear it.
Yeah. So, for me, the Chargers were a team. A few years ago, I'm going to give an example. A few years ago, when the Falcons got all the way to the Super Bowl and then blew it with the big lead, they came in to Qualcomm and they destroyed the Chargers. They were just far too good. Julio and Matt Ryan and the entire team were absolutely incredible. And you could tell that they were a team that were just in a different level to you and on the way to a really nice postseason. The Chargers showed all those things that they could be. The defense was outrageous. The hang time on the punts was great. Some of the offense was fantastic. So they had all this, but they didn't turn the dial up to 10. It was almost like, no, we've got a lead. Let's just calm down. So I feel as if there's more potential, and it's on the coaching staff to dial it up and keep it going and put their foot on the pedal and press the gas and go for it.
Well,
you can't hold back in this league.
But it goes back to what I said. Max Crosby, Chandler Jones, they are elite, and they're going to bring heat. And I think I didn't realize Trey Pipkins hasn't given up a sack since 2020.
Not particularly great statistics. He doesn't play.
No, but it's we've been panicking about this right tackle situation, and I think we just we did what we had to do. And I predicted we go 42 points on Sunday. It wasn't to be. Too many 3 and outs. I think I didn't like the 4th and Staley. Herbert could have got hurt there. There's no need.
No need for it.
We went for 6 when we could have had 3, and we came away with nothing. And that we spoke about this. That needs to stop. But,
especially when you've got a lead, add the 3 points. There's no need for 4th and Staley with 2 yards to go, and there's no reason. Like, it's wanting to be dominant, but pushing it too much. There's a time to take points and have a lead and extend it. And there's desperate times or times where you really want to assert yourself. That wasn't one of those times. Didn't need to do it. I'd much rather, instead of going for it on 4th down, how about throw a 20 or 30 or 40-yard bomb for a change and get Mike Williams screaming down and take a shot? You don't get to be aggressive on 4th down when you aren't taking shots, for me.
I mean, John, obviously, I know you're all in on the wide receivers room. We spoke about the fact that don't select any Chargers wide receivers in fantasy because Herbert's going to give the ball everywhere. Was it 8 or 9 people had a reception? Do you think that the fact? Sorry, go on.
I was going to say, actually, to be clear about what I said was, it's hard to trust anyone but Allen, and if you're going to select a pass catcher, from the Chargers, it should be Gerald Everett, who, by the way, top 5 fantasy tight end.
Yeah.
Boosh.
Fantastic.
Anyone who listened to me, you're welcome. But yeah, no, Herbert's doing a great job spraying the ball around, mixing it up, because he's not going to sit there. And you've got a guy like Derek Carr, and he did the same thing last year, right? That's why a lot of people, again, fantasy related, told him, hey, stay away from Hunter Renfrow. Don't do it. He's going to be worthless to you. Why? Carr is one of those guys who zeroes in on a favorite target, and he will push the ball to them. Now, when your favorite target is Devontae Adams, you're going to get receptions. It's going to happen. But once you take away that favorite target, what do you have? Nothing, right? Because now every time he's up in the pocket, he's going to his second and third reads, but after he's done staring down Devontae, right? So I think that the good news for Herbert is he's like, okay, yes, Keenan Allen's my favorite. He's always going to be his favorite, but he's going to move through his regressions quickly because he doesn't lock onto any single target. He's like, nope, no, yes. And that's why you see it spread around. That's why you see him make magic happen, because he's willing to go wherever is necessary, right?
Yeah, and I think that was the point I was coming on to. There's people losing their minds on social media about Mike Williams not getting involved with the game. Well, that's a good thing. If Mike Williams has been getting snuffed out, it then opens the doors for everyone else. And if anybody was watching Red Zone in the early games, every time Joe Burrow got the football, he automatically looked right to who? Jamar Chase.
Well, that's because Joe Burrow's a fraud, and all he has is Jamar Chase.
Correct.
If he didn't have Jamar Chase, he'd be garbage.
I
don't know if you saw the stat online. I don't know if you saw the stat online about sacks allowed and taken.
I know.
And, sacks are a QB stat, by the way. Joe Burrow was sacked like 7 or 8 times, and he was responsible for at least half, if not more, of those sacks.
Yeah.
Like he was the reason the sacks happened. Obviously, the offensive line were part of the reason, but he was part of the reason too. On the flip side of that, Justin Herbert avoided 2 to 3 sacks, like 2 to 3 that should have been sacks. He turned them into not sacks because of his movement in the pocket and his ability to move around. So just saying.
Has anyone found any software patches yet that can turn this cheat mode off for Justin Herbert? I mean, he's ridiculous.
He is unreal.
It's called Mike Lombardi with a lead in the 4th. That is that's the cheat code. Is, hey guys, let's just let the Chargers have the lead in the 4th. Let Lombardi get super conservative, and then we'll come back and win it. Now against the Raiders, that didn't quite work out for them, but against the Chiefs, when you have Patrick Mahomes, I honestly. And unless we enter the 4th quarter with a 3-touchdown lead, I am never going to be comfortable against the Chiefs.
I mean, we'll come on to Chiefs in a minute, but we were having a bit of fun last night on social about the power rankings, and I've worked out that one of the power rankings that was published yesterday was done via a bingo machine. Chargers 11th. It's just absolutely ridiculous. Same with the people are losing their minds over PFF stats. Now you've got to go behind you've got to dive into the actual metrics, how PFF do their stats. But I believe Max Crosby was rated higher than Khalil Mack, a man with 6 pressures, including 3 sacks. An absolute John, is put you on the spot here slightly. Is that the best? Well, actually, probably not. But we'll go for defense because I think I've answered my own question. Best debut for a Chargers in modern history. You could argue it was Justin Herbert in week 2, but let's go for defense. Is that the best performance you've seen for a Chargers debutant in recent times?
Probably. I would say probably. I mean, he racked up some serious numbers, and let's be honest though, like as much as great of a game as he had, the real reason that Khalil Mack had the day he did was because of Joey Bosa. I went through and I watched the game through. I watched it I watched the full game, the regular replay, and then 2 quick replays with a little bit of all 22 in there. And something I noticed, the Raiders still tried to double and triple team Joey Bosa.
Yeah.
Well, this is the joy. This is the brilliance of having Khalil Mack on the other side. This is something Bosa hasn't had. Even when Ingram was here, and Ingram was great. You know, I loved Ingram, but he never was. He was never a Khalil Mack, right? When you have a Khalil Mack on the other side, and you're like, hey, we're still going to double team Joey Bosa. Guess what? Khalil Mack's coming home at you, and he did. And I don't reckon we're going to have a ton of games where we're going to see Khalil Mack putting up those kinds of gaudy stats, because I think teams are going to have to go, oh, crap. Well, I guess he's not washed. I guess he can still play. I guess we have to account for him, and we can no longer double and triple Joey every time, right? So while Joey's numbers did not reflect, hey, I've got help now, I think what you're going to see moving forward is defense is going, well, I can't double and triple team Joey. Just does not, because Khalil Mack will come home on me.
Yeah, and the other thing as well, I don't know if you noticed, is how much Derwin James was chomping at the bit just behind the line of scrimmage to get in amongst the action. And obviously, he got his rewards. And we're going to see that more and more. I think James is now, he's intelligent enough, he's experienced enough to know when to come shallow and when to stay deep. And I think we're going to see a lot more of that. And then we've Kenneth Murray coming up with stops and tackles.
Yeah.
There was a national podcast. I listened to it every Monday morning on my hour commute to work, and they were sort of going, "Oh yeah, Asante Samuel Jr. got torched by Devontae Adams." Well, that's what Devontae Adams is going to do to you. He is going to torch 99% of all defensive backs, because that's why the Raiders paid top dollar for him. But at the end of the day, stat column says Asante Samuel Jr. took an interception, and I wrote about Brandon Staley's victory speech on chargedupbolts.com. You watch that, watch the tape, read what I've put, and you will see what I'm talking about. There's hidden messages in there. Asante Samuel didn't have a good first year, did he? Preseason wasn't great for him, but all Brandon Staley's done there is elevate that dude's confidence to another level. He's given people the belief, and when he received that game ball, wow. He was, you might have just said to him, here's $100 million. He would have reacted exactly the same. There's a lot of emotional intelligence being used in the correct way within the Chargers locker room, mainly coming from Brandon Staley. And you start to see that now through the senior players. And I think it's refreshing. I want to see the fringe players stepping up, because then we're not just talking about, like John said, we're not just talking about Joey Bosa. We're not just talking about Derwin James. And we've got JC Jackson to come back as well. And this, I mean, we are now ranked number 3 in defensive DVOA, and we're going to need it when we start talking about the Chiefs game in a moment. But I mean, Bez, was there anything on defense you didn't like necessarily?
I just thought it was one of these defenses. It grew in ascendancy throughout the game, and we finished on a high. Towards the end of the game, I had so much faith when the Chargers went too on the back foot and too relaxed with that lead, and they stopped throwing down the field. And I thought, don't worry, the defense is coming out. I'm so excited to watch someone make an absolute ridiculous play. But the thing is that Derek Carr was able to move the ball, and he was able to score. on us as well. And I think I'm getting the feeling with this Chargers defense that yes, they can be dominant, but they're also going to give up some points. Bit boom or bust. We're going to rely on turnovers because we're going to be taking chances. So I think for me, I'm happy with that. I'm happy to watch a Chargers defense that is going to smother you, get pressure and force you to pass it and get turnovers. We're not quite on it yet, but the Chiefs, Mahomes, when he was blitzed, he was fantastic against was it the Cardinals the Cardinals they beat. We're trying to get pressure with 4 for the most part. Then we sometimes bring a Derwin James, someone like Carl Van Noy. We bring them as a surprise later on. But for the most part, we're trying to get pressure with 4 and create chaos in the pocket, flush out the quarterback, and then get turnovers, dramatic turnovers to Khalil Mack, or perhaps just, my player of the game, Bryce Callahan. So I'm happy for us to be boom or bust, but I'd just like to see us tighten up. We could have made adjustments that would have taken Davante Adams out of the game and forced Carr to make it. He was staring his receivers down. I watched ones that they had to kick a field goal in the second quarter, and I watched Derek Carr look at Davante Adams, and he didn't take his eye off him. He's the only guy he could see. Take that option away and make him look, and you give Mack, Bosa, and the D-line more time to get to him. I think we could have made those adjustments.
Yeah, I think we spoke about Mike Davis. I mean, he let Davante Adams go for that score, but that's what you're going to get. And we're not surprised when the likes of Keenan Allen and Mike Williams are running all over defensive backs. It is a tough league, and unfortunately, or fortunately for us, we came through a tough opponent. I don't think we could have done much more on defense. Special teams, J.K. Scott, absolutely phenomenal. I mean, when's the last time we ever saw a special teams player getting a game ball?
Fantastic.
I don't know. Well before we started watching the Chargers in the late 2000s. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, guys, want to know, it's on the board. Any final points on the Raiders? Anything you want to mention, John? Any final points before we move on?
No, I mean, it was a good game. It wasn't a perfect game, definitely some stumbles there, but I was pretty happy overall. I mean, obviously really happy overall that they won, but I was pretty happy overall with the performance. I would have loved to have seen a better second half, but Lombardi coming out and admitting that maybe he was a bit too conservative, and them going up against the Chiefs, where hopefully they have learned their lessons from years past, where going conservative with a lead does not do well when you play the Chiefs. So I'm hoping that they learn from some of the mistakes and that we get an even better showing here in week 2.
Do you think there's any? I know there's sort of rumor mill going around. Do you think Lombardi was being necessarily conservative because the Chiefs would have been watching tape ahead of tomorrow's game, or do you think it's just horse manure and that he was just playing conservative?
I mean, it fits his MO. So I mean, if he had never been conservative in the past, if you have never done this sort of thing, I would say, hey, maybe there's some truth to that. But no, it fits what he's done in the past. It's not. It's on brand for him. So cool. Hopefully he pulls out of that. I mean, if he wants to get a head coaching job, he can't be the head coach. He can't be the coordinator that is looked on as the guy who has great first halves and then goes into a shell second halves, right? That's not going to get you a head coaching gig. So I'm hoping he learns from it and we see a much more even performance, whistle to whistle.
Bold prediction. Some point this season, Staley is going to take over offensive coordinating duties late on in the game if he starts being like that. Bez, any final points on the Raiders?
You know what? I'm so excited. We won. It feels amazing. I was on a high for days after the game. Huge positives, big turnovers, sacks, pressure all the time. It was exciting to watch. At times we dominated and we saw Justin Herbert. Just want to see a little bit more. I want to see a little bit more of Justin Herbert allowed to thrive. And my last comment is just he's gone under the radar. But for me, Bryce Callahan, what a pickup. What an absolute steal to bring in free agency, stick in the slot, completely shuts down his man and gets an interception. Player of the game for me.
Yeah, I think we need to talk a bit more about Bryce, and I'm sure we'll be over the coming weeks. Again, another performance from someone that we didn't expect to be balling out there. In approximately 64 seconds after this short commercial break, we'll be back when we focus our attention on the week 2 opener, Thursday night football in Kansas City. It's going to be a good game. We'll be back shortly. The NFL's opening week was action-packed. It's just getting started. The Bolts went 1-0 with a fine performance from Khalil Mack. Get ready for week 2 of touchdowns, big plays, and even bigger wins with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. This week, new customers can just bet $5 on any football game and get $200 in free bets instantly. Want more action? Everyone can experience the thrill of DraftKings early win promotion. It's simple. This Sunday, bet on any NFL team to win. If your team leads by 10 at any point during the game, you get paid instantly, even if your team loses. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use promo code TPPN to get $200 in free bets instantly when you place a $5 bet on any football game. That's code TPPN only at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See show notes for details. Welcome back to Charged Up Bolts podcast. John Walls Jr. here with Bez and my other good buddy, John Ayres. We're talking Chiefs Chargers for the next 30 minutes or so. The second best quarterback in the NFL is going up against Justin Herbert. It's going to be an absolute cracking game. I'm not predicting the Chargers are going to drop a 50 on the Chiefs. I'm not going to do anything as crazy as that. 35 maybe, but no, seriously, this is a the NFL's brilliant because week to week we get overreactions, we get underreactions. The Chiefs destroyed Arizona, and Arizona played terrible. I think they scored some points in garbage time. But whenever Patrick Mahomes has got the football, we're always sort of fearful of what he can do. But if we want to change our mentality as a franchise, we need to stop being scared of the Chargers. And that's what I've been saying since we launched Charged Up Bolts in 2020. Herbert 2-0 in Kansas City. I mean, where do we want to start? Bez, come on. What is your biggest plus and sort of concern going into the Chiefs? We'll go for the injury report. McDuffie, the rookie, is out, which is probably a bit of a slightly good news for us. Patrick Mahomes has got a slightly poorly left wrist, so I'm sure Khalil Mack will be paying particular attention to that as we head into the game tomorrow night. But come on, Bez, kick us off. Chiefs, Chargers.
So it's a proof in the pudding game. The Chargers can't play conservative and expect to win, as John said. You know, you'd need a 3-touchdown more lead to be able to calm down and just relax into that quarter. You can't. So we have to play balls to the wall. You know, every time the blitz happened to Mahomes against the Cardinals, he just torched them. So you can't bring artificial pressure and get that and expect to get turnovers and challenge him. So we're going to have to trust that 4-man front to get pressure. We're going to have to be great in coverage. Our defense will be tested because, you know, he can be flustered into turnovers, and that is our strength. But, you know, it's very challenging. Is the old Mahomes back? I've picked him up in fantasy, and it seems those 30-odd points have won me week 1. So I'm hoping that isn't going to happen again. But here's my big takeaway. Don't rely on the defense winning you this game. Mahomes is going to score points with the Chiefs. I just see it happening. 30, 38, 35 points, somewhere in that region. He's going to score that against most teams. The question is, can you go toe-to-toe with him? Can you trust Justin Herbert and your O that doesn't have Keenan Allen to put up as many points and outscore them for the win? And that's my worry. We have to go for it, and not the fourth and Staley go for it. To consistently allow Herbert to make plays that he can make. That's what you have to do. Trust in him and he shall deliver.
Yeah, there's a couple of Chiefs that kind of worry me. We've got to pay attention to. But John, I know you've been studying tape for the last couple of days. I know you've come on, over to you, John.
It's going to be an interesting game because, you know, a lot of fans are going to want to point to the Chargers' success against the Chiefs from a defensive standpoint. Majority of games, they hold them to somewhere around 24 points. That's a pretty good target. I mean, if you told me, you know, we're holding the Chiefs to 24 points, I would say I'll take it, right? I like our chances if we do that. So in the past, they've been able to do that, but also because in the past, the Chiefs offense has really funneled through Kelsey and Hill, right? Those were the main players. Everybody else was just kind of like extra pieces when Mahomes needed to make something happen, or if he saw some sort of blown coverage or some sort of mismatch he liked, then they'd get fed. But ultimately it was Hill and Kelsey are the priorities. And, in the past it was, if you could stop them, and avoid the big plays, you would pretty much be able to beat the Chiefs, or at least come close. Now there is a new look Chiefs offense, and in a way it's kind of better than their old offense. And I say that because it's different. All right. Mahomes did his best Justin Herbert impression. He spread the ball around. He didn't necessarily have a favorite target. Obviously Kelsey's there. He's always going to try to hit Kelsey up. Kelsey just made Simmons, who again, a lot of people liked him just as him coming out. A lot of people wanted him over Herbert because they didn't like Herbert that much as a quarterback. That's a whole nother story. But I mean, every time Simmons was on Kelsey, it felt like Kelsey was ripping off a big play. Okay. He could not handle him in coverage. Good news is we're not going to put a linebacker or whatever Simmons is. I'm not really not sure what he's kind of like a Derwin. He's a hybrid guy. We're not going to put that on Kelsey. Really, for a good chunk of, or at least the important plays, we've got Derwin James, who has a history of shutting down Kelsey. So great. We can shut him down. However, this new offense, kind of like the old offense, but different in that it's a lot of short, quick passes. Okay. And part of that might've been the scheme, right? So Arizona, as Bez said, unable to generate pressure with their standard defensive front. Okay. So what did they do? They said, hey, we're going to go ahead and blitz Mahomes. Blitzing Mahomes is a poor decision. He eats the blitz for breakfast. He loves it. He sees it coming. He adjusts. They do a lot of pre-snap motion. He does a lot of kind of, coaxing the defense to show their hand. And as soon as he sees it, he makes up his mind, maybe audibles, hot routes, whatever, and he eats that blitz for breakfast. So it is a key for us to be able to generate pressure without having to blitz, because obviously you're going to want to blitz every once in a while. You can't just never blitz. Okay. I mean, I know Gus Bradley would say otherwise, but you do have to blitz in the modern NFL. And when you have weapons like Derwin James to blitz, that's great. You can catch him by surprise, but you can't be relying solely on blitzing, because when you do, you're going to get what happened to the Cardinals and just get eaten up for breakfast. A lot of short, quick passes. There was a lot of play action from under center. That's something I hadn't seen a ton of that the Chiefs did in the past. A lot of Mahomes under center, running play action, and then, ripping off a quick throw. So the offense is different. It's a lot of short, quick stuff, a lot of middle, through the middle and underneath stuff, right? It's a little West Coasty in a sense, a little bit more West Coasty than we're used to, right? But how is it the same as the old offense? Well, it's the same as the old offense in that you've got someone like a Juju Smith-Schuster running those crosser routes. You're hitting him fairly short or mid-range. The difference is Juju Smith-Schuster is going down within 5 yards. Okay. He's not breaking it for a 50-yard touchdown. That is the difference in that before it was get Hill the ball as much as possible in the middle of the field or wherever, and let him basically be one of the best receivers in the NFL.
Zooms through and
exactly. And a couple times a game, you send him on, he gets open on some sort of a, fly route or whatever, he's just going to do that, right? It's going to happen once or twice a game. He's just going to get past the defense and he's going to get a bomb, right? But most of his big plays were him running through the middle, through traffic, finding a seam, getting open, and then just destroying DBs. Okay. So you're not going to get that with the current roster of receivers. Juju, Hardman, any of the guys that they have catching passes right now, they're not going to burn you that way. So, being able to keep them in front of you shouldn't be too hard. It's really going to come down to a couple things. One, can they stop the run game? Because surprisingly, Clyde Edwards-Helaire was heavily featured earlier on in that game and throughout the game, and he had a good day running. Okay. Don't get me wrong here. Clyde Edwards-Helaire looked like a good running back against
10 yards average.
Yes, he looked great. And what does that do? It's kind of what I think Lombardi was trying to do against the Raiders is, hey, we've got a good run game. You've got to respect that. And now it makes it easier for the passing game. So I think if they can clamp down on the run and take that away from the Chiefs, I think they're going to have an easier day getting hold of it. And then the last thing is generating pressure. Mahomes had 0 picks, should have had 2. Absolutely should have had 2. One that was literally in the defender's arms and he just let it go through his hands. And the other one where the receiver actually made a pretty good play on the ball to keep it from being intercepted in the end zone. 2 plays absolutely should have been interceptions. Why? Mahomes throwing those dangerous passes, okay? Like as settled and mature as he looked in this last game, throwing it short, taking what the defense gave him, penalizing them for mistakes. That's great and all. When he was flustered, when he was moving around, he was still the Mahomes who's trying to make something happen with his arm that maybe he shouldn't, okay? So big key is when he makes those mistakes, because he's going to make a couple of them versus our defense. I know he is. We need to capitalize. We need to catch the ball. We need to get the interception, and we need to score. The other thing, fumbles. There were 4 fumbles that I saw during that game. 2 of them from Juju Smith-Schuster. Juju Smith-Schuster, who has a history of some ball control issues. So I think they should be lining up and practicing, letting Juju catch that underneath and then hitting them hard, putting their helmet on the ball, punching at it. Because I can tell you right now, if you said, hey, make one weird prop bet that you think is going to happen, my prop bet would be over on 1 fumble by Juju Smith-Schuster. I think he fumbles the ball at least once, maybe twice. Luckily, one of them went out of the end zone. The other one was in fact recovered. So, I think there's a fumbled handoff. And then is it Hilaire or Pacheco or one of the other running backs also kind of had a fumble, which they recovered their own fumble. So, again, 4 plus the 2 potential interceptions, that's 6 turnover worthy plays. Cardinals only got the ball 1 time. Okay. Not going to fly. When the Chiefs make a mistake, we have to pounce. All right. The good news for us is based off what I saw in that first game, this team is all over the ball. We've got ball hawks. We've got guys jumping for loose balls. So I think they can. So I think that's a key to victory for the defense right there.
Yeah, I think it's a great start to the Chiefs conversation, guys. This out of all that, this one key takeaway that I've got going to the game. It's the first 2 drives for both teams. I don't think, John, you're absolutely right. Bez, you're absolutely right. We need to put points on the board early against the Chiefs, especially when we're fresh. And you saw the energy that went into the first half of the Raiders game. I think that I don't want to say nervous energy. I would say energy on a high. This is a new team in a new era, and we've got to learn to control that. What I want to see in the first 2 drives, with and without the ball, is containing the Chiefs when we haven't got the football. If we can limit the Chiefs to 3 points out of the first 2 drives, and if we can at least score 3, if not a touchdown, with our first 2 possessions, I think that's going to set the tone. If the Chiefs score on their opening drive and then we don't respond, we get a 3 and out, the Chiefs then come in with a field goal, we're trailing by 10, probably going to the second quarter. We don't want to be chasing the game. We don't want that gap to be double digits points on the scoreboard. I think it might be too much to ask. I'm all in on generating pressure early. And John, you're right that Arizona, they didn't execute enough. They didn't put enough pressure on Mahomes. Can we, and this is a question for you both, I don't know the answer, and you probably won't either, can we expect our players like the Asante Samuels to come up with another interception? Drew Tranquill, his first ever career interception. Can we expect that in this game? I'm not so sure, because it's week to week. It's like Khalil Mack said on socials. It's just another game. Week 2 is another game. We've got to start again. And I think we've got to carry that momentum in. And we've just got to do everything that we did against the Raiders and a little bit more.
If we win this, the hype is going to just explode. It's going to be, I've never known hype like it in the off season. We've beaten the Raiders. If we win this game, it's going to be unparalleled. Even the media might notice the Chargers.
Well, look, we're going to go to a quick short break. We're going to come back and do predictions, and I'm not going to fall back on what I've said in the pre-season. At the end of the day, I'm all in, and I think we have to be. When Brandon Staley talks about having a winning mentality, I think that goes to the fan base as well. If you go back, guys, to 2013, 2014, and you remember the days on Twitter back then, it was a very, very ugly timeline. There was a lot of bickering, a lot of falling out. People didn't get along, and now it's a bit more positive. But if we did lose on Thursday, there'll be a meltdown by certain sections of the of the fan base. If we win, people just expect those expectations to go higher and higher. Same as Arizona. We don't know what team that is because they might have had a bad day at the office. Not really going to affect us. They're in the NFC West. It doesn't change the price of fish, but it is week to week. We'll come back, short break, and we'll get into those hot and tasty predictions. If I can find the video, that is. Hey, Bolt fam. John Woods Jr. here from the Charged Up Bolts podcast. We've got a great offer for you from Raycon. Lately, I've been listening to a lot of World War II podcasts from James Holland and Al Murray, aka the We Have Ways of Making You Talk podcast. And it's been great. One of the reasons it's been great is because I listened to using the Raycon wireless earbuds to do it. Raycon's everyday earbuds look, feel, and sound better than ever with optimized gel tips for the perfect in-ear fit. These earbuds are so comfortable and they will not budge. Trust me. Raycons give you 8 hours of playtime and a 30-hour battery life. Raycons are priced just right and you get quality audio at half the price of other premium audio brands. It's no wonder Raycon's everyday earbuds have over 50,000 5-star reviews. I love the earbud tap functions and the noise isolation mode and the awareness mode. Really important for me when I'm on my 2 to 3 hour round trip commute across London on the London Underground. You've got to get a pair of these, folks. Go to buyraycon.com/TPPN today to get 15% off your Raycon order. That's buyraycon.com/TPPN to score 15% off. buyraycon.com/TPPN. Welcome back, folks. We are talking Chargers Chiefs. Thanks for listening to the commercials. It does pay for us to use quality platforms like this and bring you quality content. Now, Raiders Nation thought they were going to come into our building and win. John, what is the word on the streets of the United States? Chiefs Kingdom, have they already won this game in their mind? What are you hearing?
I mean, I wouldn't say they think they've won the game in their mind. I do think that they are very confident going into the game, as they should be. That they're defending AFC West champs. They're a good team. They haven't given up the gauntlet yet. There's no reason to think they're not the number one team in the West, no matter what anybody tells you. Until they lose it, they are still the leading team in the West. So I think they have that mentality. I've seen a few. There is some, downplaying on Herbert. There is a narrative out there, and it's, I mean, a lot of them respect what Herbert does. A lot of them do. So it's not like they think he's a scrub or anything, but there is a narrative that I have seen a few times now through their social interactions where they think that Herbert gets cold, right? They blame the second half like where they're kind of lulls in the second half, which seems to be pretty common with this team, by the way. These lulls, a lot of them are saying, oh, Herbert gets cold and the offense gets cold, right? So I think we who watch know better than that. I mean, sometimes he does. Sometimes Herbert just doesn't have a great game, or he has a few series where he just doesn't look great. It happens, whatever. But I think the narrative that he gets cold in the second half is more about the offensive play calling and what ends up happening, as well as drops, which rear their ugly head than anything else. So I think Chiefs Kingdom is pretty excited about the game. I think they are a little nervous, but ultimately I think they're all pretty confident, as they should be. If I were a Chiefs fan, I'd be confident too. They had a great showing against Arizona. The Chargers almost blew it late against the Raiders. Like, there's no reason for me to look at those two games and think, hey, as a casual fan, Chiefs got this. So,
well, there'll be no Harrison Butker on Thursday to score a 62-yard field goal, which he scored. Or he converted at the SoFi.
Yeah, I had to drop him in 3 fantasy leagues, so thank you for that one. And I've got Keenan as well.
Well, this is it. I mean, we've got to deal without Keenan, but this is why you have 53-man roster, and thankfully we've got more weapons than NATO, as I wrote yesterday. It's the next man up. You can't make that as an excuse. I mean, the weather forecast tomorrow, 87 degrees, going to be 30-mile-an-hour wind, so it's going to be favourable conditions, 0 chance of rain. So it's going to be a good one. I mean, Bez, are you worried about playing the Chiefs tomorrow?
No, I'm not. No. I just think it's just fantastic to have the AFC West stacked with talent. A Chargers team better than anything I've seen in my fandom. And the Chiefs coming off their pinnacle. It's the right time to play them.
Give us your prediction then. Come on. Give us your prediction.
So I'm going to say 38-31 in an absolute showdown to the Chiefs because it's away from home. That's why.
Okay. John Ayres, come on.
I totally get what Bez is talking about here. I actually envision the Chargers having the lead late, and then I envision Patrick Mahomes leading that kind of last minute drive to defeat them. However, you touched on the biggest news that I think we've glossed over this entire podcast. Harrison Butker. Okay, kickers are such an important part of this game. We know for a fact when you don't have one, it is crap. There are multiple times we've lost to the Chiefs late in games because Harrison Butker, because we're like, oh, we've got him stopped at the 40-yard line. They're going to punt. Nope, he's going to kick a 58-yard field goal and beat us, right? That's not happening. Okay, I don't know what scrub they've brought in to kick. I mean, it might be their safety Reed. I mean, who, by the way, looked pretty good kicking. Props to him. But they're not going to have Butker back there, meaning that if we do hold them late, they're going to have to score that touchdown. They're not going to be able to go with the field goal, which is why I think Bez had something right. 31 is a number in this game, but I think it's 31 Chiefs, 34 Chargers. I think they win on a last-second missed field goal by the Chiefs' backup kicker, and then Chiefs Kingdom can start bitching and complain about not having Harrison Butker, and then they come into SoFi, and then we trash them in SoFi on our way to going undefeated and having the second perfect season ever in the NFL.
I told you the hype was starting.
All right, the hype is that's a bit much, but I do believe it comes down to a field goal, and I do believe that them missing Butker is going to be hard because they're used to having him. Mahomes is like, oh, I got 30 seconds, no big deal. I can get in Butker's range. Well, now you got to get in your practice squad kicker's range. Okay, that's another 10, 15 yards closer. Right. So I honestly believe that it comes down to a last second field goal. And I think that the Chiefs miss it in a heartbreaker. But it could go either way. So, but 34-31, my prediction, Bolts.
Well, last week you all went under 30 points for each team and I went over. This time I'm doing a role reversal. I think the Chargers win it 28-24. Now, I did, for those of you who listened way back about 7 or 8 episodes ago, I did predict the Chargers would start the season hot at 5-0. And I do believe that. I do believe the division will be 5-1. Bez has had to shoot off. Family issues. Thank you, Bez. But I think it'd be 28-24. But, John, we really have to bring our A game again this week. And just like the Chiefs, short week for both teams. There's no one's coming off a bye week. There's no hiding injuries. It is what it is. I think we're going to see more production from Khalil Mack. I think we'll see more production from Joey Bosa. I don't mean necessarily another 6 or 7 sack game. What I'm saying is, I think we'll have the same again. We'll have volume from those two players. The offensive line is now starting to clearly gel. You could see that, but we've just got to do the right things right, and that's easier said than done. Sat behind the camera, but I just hope that the coaching staff take all the negatives that were there in that Raiders game and work on those. Herbert will do his thing. We will cope without Keenan Allen. I don't know if J.C. Jackson's available. I don't think they've announced it yet, John.
No, he's still designated as questionable. So he's probably going to try it out before the game, see what happens. I don't think so. When he had the surgery and everyone was like, oh, he could pop. No, I don't. My prediction was always going to be he was going to miss the first 2 games, which sucks. It feels like a poor decision to miss the Chiefs game, but it is what it is. He's got to let it heal. And I'd rather lose the Chiefs game because we didn't have him now early in the season and come back and win games later in the season with him than I would have him coming in, playing, maybe beating them, but then re-injuring and then be gone for the rest of the season. So he's got to be healthy. You got to have a healthy team.
I completely agree 100%. JC Jackson's going to get a lot of football time, and we're all predicting the Chargers will go on a playoff run. So, it is what it is. Hopefully we're back for week 3. And even then, I think that opponent lends itself to JC playing limited snaps rather than throwing him in and playing the full hog. I mean, running backs for me, we're going to have to see more of a product in the running game, John. I mean, 31 carries for 76 yards is not exactly lighting up the league. You know, we didn't see an awful lot from Palmer. Obviously, Hovarth went for a score in the air, but you know, on the ground, there's not a lot there at the minute. We've got to hope that Sony Michel can have some more carries. I think he had 7 carries for something like 12 yards. But that's an area of concern for me, is our running game. I'm sure the Chiefs will be working to limit those numbers again. So yeah, I mean, I'm all in. I think it's going to be a nervous game. I think there'll be a lot of anxiety, a lot of anxious moments for both teams. Penalties again. Penalties hurt. The Raiders on Sunday. If we could draw a couple of offsides, you know, force those turnovers. Interceptions is going to win us this game, I think. I really do. I'm not concerned about the offensive line. I just think if we can force turnovers, and J.K. Scott can get that hang time over 5 seconds, Herbert let him rock and roll, I think we'll be okay against a very, very dangerous opponent. Any final thoughts from you, John?
No, I think you hit the nail on the head there with that running game comment. I think they need to get the running game going just for balance. You know, I'd like to see a few more screens to Eckler, give him some more opportunities in space. You know, do you want to give Sony Michel more touches? Maybe. Honestly, Joshua Kelly looked really good. Yeah, he looked all the player that we'd want out of a running back too.
4 for 21.
Yeah. I have no problem with the way he ran and the way he moved. So I think Joshua Kelly is a great kind of change of pace, second back there. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with what we have. I think they just need to maybe execute on the blocks a little bit better, create a few more holes, and I think it'll be better. I do think it's going to be a better run game this week. I think the Chiefs defensive line is ripe to be run on. So I think that'll be an important part of the game as well. So
yeah, and I think it's going to be important carrying into this game with some more veterans on the roster, the likes of Sebastian Joseph Day, you know, Khalil Mack, JC Jackson, because they'll be getting round all those rookies and you know, second year pros, settling a few nerves and giving their own opinions, as you would expect from team captains. But at the end of the day, when you're playing against Andy Reid, you've got to pay his team respect it deserves. But we can't afford to lose this game. We've got to, if we're going to lose the game, what I mean by that is we can't afford to lose it on our terms. If we're going to lose it, we need to make Kansas City work damn hard for it, which we have seen in the, I think we're 2-2, aren't we, in the last 4 outings, and they've been all relatively close games. And this is what we're predicting again. We do not want to see a disaster, because at the minute people are still obviously finding their feet within the roster, and it could upset the entire nature of the locker room if we have a bit of a slide in Kansas City. But I don't envisage that will happen. We've got a lot of quality pieces in the football field. We just need people to step up again and come up with those magic plays. John, it's been a pleasure as usual. Where are you watching the game tomorrow, by the way? Are you staying home?
Yeah, I'm not going to Kansas City. I'm not going to Missouri. It's not happening. So I'll be watching it from the sweet confines of the house. My poor family's got to listen to me yell, I'm sure, but it'll be fine.
Well, it'll be, I think it's 1:15 a.m. over in the UK. I'll be sat on the sofa amongst all the boxers ready for the move on Friday. Oh yeah, interestingly, my good lady wife cancelled the broadband as of tomorrow morning. So I'll be hoping and praying that my data holds up on Prime. But I'll be watching the game at hook or crook. 100%, wouldn't miss it for the world. Where can we find you on socials, John?
You can find me at @AdroidAirs, #AudibleChocolate.
Of course, you can find me, Endzone85. Don't forget, Danny wasn't able to make it tonight. UKLA Chargers, Bez the Spaniard, #chargedup_pod, and the main Twitter handle is #chargedup_bolts. It's been another great show. Hopefully, we can report in next week, go into week 3 with another victory. Stay safe. Enjoy the game tomorrow, people, and bolt up.
Bolt up.